Hello, everybody. I'm Rosa Valentine, and for my senior project, I'm going to be making a true crime podcast, which you are listening to right now with my amiga, Gianna. Gianna, say hi.
Hi, I'm Gianna.
And we are your host of Subject Murder. So for my senior project, I also have a senior Instagram for my project, so you can follow that, and that will be in the descriptions of both the podcast and the YouTube video. So if you want to follow me and see any other additional information of the cases, then you can do that. And you can also feel free to DM me any cases you want to hear that is before the 2000s, because part of my modifications was to do things that weren't too relevant. Gianna, we're going to talk a little bit about ourselves, get to know us, and then we'll get into this. So.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just got off work today. Long shift, short-staffed.
Where do you work?
That's private information.
Really?
How was your day?
Oh, my day was great. Yeah, I went to go visit Gianna at Taco Bell. It was pretty fire. I asked her literally hours before, do you want Starbucks? She was on her break. And then 3 hours later, yes. And I was like, girl, I already got my Starbucks. You're too late. And then she was sad. And then I promised I'd get her Dutch Bros, and instead we're doing this. She got herself Dutch Bros.
I got myself Dutch Bros. And no cupcakes. What happened to the cupcakes?
I promised her cupcakes and didn't get her cupcakes. But, okay, let's get started before you see an online fight. Oh my god, we should have a reality show. Low-key.
I mean, are we really that interesting?
No. We sit in parking lots and sing. Okay. The case sources I will be using is an article from ABC News and another article from Heavy.com. In this story, there's a lot of backstory, so just be prepared for that. And I made sure to pick cases I don't think Gianna has ever heard before. And she's a true crime freak as well. So I'm really hoping you've never heard of this. Honestly, I never even heard of this. And I love me my Hugh Hefner. Not gonna lie, so that's a little sneak peek on what this case is. You don't know who Hugh Hefner is?
No.
Playboy. You don't know what Playboy is?
I mean, isn't it like
explicit content?
Yeah, it's like the magazines.
Of women, yeah. Hugh Hefner is the man who created it.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm not that into it.
Neither am I.
Wow.
But the brand Playboy, like there's like Tana Mojo.
Yeah, like I know.
Yeah, okay.
Playboy, I just didn't know oh, that's why she's like.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
that makes
because
sense.
Hugh Hefner is the creator of Playboy, and he lives that lifestyle of having girls.
Is he hot?
No, he's old. He's really old. Okay, let's start.
Anyway.
I got sidetracked. Okay. So, it's 1978 in Vancouver, Canada, and teenager Dorothy Stratten is working at a local Dairy Queen to help with financial costs for her mom, who works at the school cafeteria. Dorothy was always known as the pretty, shy girl who didn't think much of herself. And one day, Dorothy is working, and a 26-year-old local pimp and club promoter, Paul Snyder, comes in. He immediately finds her attractive, and he feels he could make her famous and asks Dorothy out. Maybe I didn't mention it. She's 19, so there's a big age gap.
How old is he?
26.
He's 26 and she's 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the first little, red flag. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so while they're going out, he frequently complimented her insecurities and gave her expensive gifts, and friends and family saw Paul as a bad influence on her and felt he was taking advantage of her. In 1978, Playboy hosted the Great Playmate Hunt contest to find their next playmate. So this is back when, the magazines was a big deal, and they were making movies. Now it's more the online stuff and videos.
Yeah.
So it's completely different now. Don't think of Playboy. What you know now is completely different of what it was back then.
Okay.
So Paul saw this as an opportunity for Dorothy because she was so pretty, and he sent her out there for the contest. She got a call back, but ended up not getting chosen because they felt she wasn't ready for such a big opportunity. But Hugh Hefner, who you now know, did take a liking to her and named her Miss August 1979 and worked as a Playboy bunny at the Los Angeles Century City.
Okay, wait, so sorry. So Hugh Hefner, sorry, because I'm a little lost. So he's different from the guy who owned the clubs and stuff.
Oh, no, Hugh Hefner,
He's not the 26-year-old.
No,
Okay.
so Paul is her boyfriend.
Yes.
Hugh Hefner is the creator of Playboy.
Yes.
And, he's so famous, he's getting her into all these, different things.
All
yeah.
Right.
So I should also mention, because that she's working at Los Angeles Century City, Paul also moved with her, so now she's living in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So eventually Paul would take credit for launching her career, and over the next few years she was gaining more and more fame. She was eventually named Playboy Playmate of the Year for the magazine, and her career was really launching off, and she was being recognized right and left. She would be invited to the most exclusive clubs and parties, but she was still a very young girl with a lot of insecurities. She started to become really attached to Paul at this time because he reminded her of home and she felt safe with him. So during every shoot, she was calling him on her breaks and would check in with him every chance she got. Fellow coworkers found their relationship to be toxic and even mentioned it to her, but she told people she was truly in love with him and ended up marrying him in June 1979. Hugh Hefner himself even told her how he disapproved of their relationship and disapproved of the marriage. And Hugh Hefner is also known, he has so many girls he doesn't really remember them, but he really took a liking to Dorothy, and he wanted to be an important person in her life that she could go to, because she felt that she was in such a toxic relationship.
Wow, so everybody just knew that this
so that's the second big red flag, having everyone tell you that you're in a toxic relationship.
And then she married him anyway?
Yeah, but she would eventually tell some of her close friends that she felt she couldn't get out of the relationship, so that's why she went through with the marriage.
Wow.
Yeah. She was in a movie for Playboy, and then she went from modeling to being casted for acting roles. At this point in her career, Paul started to feel really left out, and so he would hang out at the infamous Playboy mansion. And so someone caught him kissing another girl in the mansion, which he was hoping to make her the next Dorothy, and wanted to do the same thing and manipulate her and make her famous and take credit for that because he was feeling so left out.
Wow.
But someone caught him and he was escorted out and wasn't allowed back into the house unless Dorothy was accompanying him to the mansion. And so with Dorothy being busy all the time, Paul was becoming desperate for her attention again and fame. One of the last projects he asked Dorothy to do was create a poster he had previously asked her to do. Never followed through with it. When she saw his proposal for the poster, she finally built up the courage to say no to him, and people described it as Paul's final straw with Dorothy. So at this point, he's getting angry with her. This is something he has asked her to do multiple times, but she would always say, "Oh, I'm too busy, I'm filming a movie, I'm doing photo shoots, I can't do that right now." And so when he finally had the proposal drawn up and shown to her, she was just no. This is toxic, I don't want to do it, no. And she was already such a famous big person by now.
She didn't do it.
No, she didn't have to do it.
But for Paul, he needed her.
Exactly.
For himself,
for the money and for the fame. Okay, so now Dorothy is in New York filming a movie, and Paul came to visit her, and they met up, and she expressed her feelings toward their relationship and how toxic it was, and that she wanted a divorce. Paul returned back to California and finally realized he had nothing without her and hit rock bottom. He then went out and bought a gun on August 14th, 1980, and Dorothy went back to the house she used to live in with Paul and their two roommates, Stephen Kushner and Patty Lorman. You just heard my cat. And she went back there so she could finalize things in the divorce and settle who gets what. Yeah. And so she's really rich at this point, but she's still she still owned a house with with two other people and is living with people, so that's a little weird. But
yeah, I was just gonna say, I thought she was
she is,
and she's got roommates, but whatever you want to do, man.
So Patty knew she was coming over to finalize their finances in the divorce, so she left the house to give them privacy. And Stefan had spent the night with his girlfriend in her house and then went straight to work, so he didn't even go home that day.
Okay.
And Patty came home, and when Patty came home, she saw both Dorothy's and Paul's car outside in the driveway, so she went inside and went to her room. Later, Stefan would come home too, and they both went upstairs to watch TV together. After a while, both Stefan and Patty found it to be a little too quiet and assumed the couple had made up. So they went to go say hi and let them know they were home. So, they couldn't do anything freaky while they were there. So Stefan and Patty knocked on their bedroom door but got no response. And so they knocked again and got no response. And so finally they were confused and a little scared, so they decided to open the door because maybe they were out, they didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a quote that Patty said. So this is the beginning of the crime scene.
Okay.
So trigger warning, blood, a lot of description. Patty said it looked like it was a horror movie, a staged horror movie, like mannequins and fake blood. There's a picture that never goes away, a mental picture that's stuck here forever. The roommates called the police, and this is how they described the crime scene. So this is the police's view on the crime scene, and also another trigger warning for sexual assault. On the other side of the door, Dorothy's body was sprawled out on the bed, and Paul's body was slumped over the gun. Dorothy was sexually assaulted and had 2 bloody handprints on her butt and one on her left leg. Both Dorothy and Paul had shotguns to the head. Paul had strands of Dorothy's hair in his hand, and he used a 12-gauge shotgun to shoot Dorothy and to kill himself afterwards. Police say their bodies had been there an entire day before anyone had found them. So they were there the entire day.
That's horrible.
Yeah, so it must have been like the minute she got there, he lost his mind. He bought the gun like the day before or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
That's horrible.
Yeah.
God.
So, when Hugh Hefner found out, like I said, he really cared for Dorothy. Yeah. So when he found out about Dorothy's death, he said his life would never be the same, and he felt he should have done more to get her away from Paul. Later on, a movie was made about Dorothy and her life, and she is now mourned by her friends and family, but her beauty will live on forever. And that is the case of Dorothy Stratten.
Wow.
Yes.
Murder-suicide, my God.
Yeah, it's literally a murder-suicide. How freaking crazy is that? Like, you have to be so sick in the head to, like, not only kill someone who's so famous, like, but then be a coward and kill yourself.
Yeah, and just, why, Like, you would have gotten some amount of credit for her success. Not all of it, of course, but in the beginning, starting her career, finding her, whatever. Really, just because she moved on, you had to,
You had to kill her? Like, she literally, she was going over there to finalize their finances.
Yeah.
So it's not like she was leaving him with nothing. She wasn't that type of person.
No.
She still cared for him deeply. She loved him. But she is in a different stage in her life, and she got married at such a young age that's, like, bound to happen.
Of course.
And he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Yeah.
As he was the type of person to, you said he was, like, kissing some other girl.
Yeah, he was also, he was kissing another girl.
He was cheating on her, and yet...
He was angry enough to kill her, but he wanted to cheat on her and make another Dorothy, as some people, like, would quote.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you for listening. Again, if you want to follow my senior project Instagram, I'll say it, and I'll put it in the description. I think it's just Rosa Senior Project, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But there I post a lot about, like, my updates. Like, I have to have a certain amount of posts, so I have to, like, write comments and upload cases that I'm thinking about and writing. So, thank you for listening. Gianna, any last comments?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So hopefully the next one will be longer. Let's go. First podcast done.